What if I told you that a simple budgeting rule could help you save hundreds of dollars every month without giving up everything you enjoy? For years, I thought budgeting meant no coffee, no restaurants, and no fun. But then I discovered the 50/30/20 budget rule, a method used by millions of Americans to manage their money in a simple and realistic way. So I decided to test it for 30 days. I tracked every dollar I spent, followed the rule as closely as possible, and wanted to see if it could actually improve my finances. By the end of the month, the result completely changed the way I think about money. The 50/30/20 rule is very simple. 50% of your income goes to needs, things like rent, groceries, transportation, insurance, and utilities. 30% goes to wants, such as dining out, streaming subscriptions, shopping, and entertainment. The remaining 20% goes to savings and investments, including an emergency fund, paying off debt, or investing for the future. For this challenge, I used a monthly income of $3,000. That gave me $1,500 for needs, $900 for wants, and $600 for savings. At first, I honestly thought saving $600 in 1 month was impossible. But I wanted to give the system a fair chance. I opened a simple note on my phone and started tracking every expense, even small purchases like coffee and snacks. And that's when I discovered the first problem. I was spending far more on small purchases than I ever realized. A $5 coffee here, a $12 lunch there, and a few online purchases every week added up much faster than I expected. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how my needs category looked and where I was accidentally wasting money every single week. Part 2, my needs category. The first thing I looked at was my needs category. According to the 50/30/20 rule, I had a maximum of $1,500 to spend on essentials. Here's how my budget looked: rent, $900. Groceries, $280. Transportation, $120. Phone and internet, $90. Utilities, $85. That brought my total to $1,475. Technically, I was still under the limit. But when I looked more closely, I noticed something interesting. My grocery bill was much higher than it needed to be. I was buying snacks, energy drinks, and convenience foods almost every time I went to the store. I also realized I was making multiple grocery trips each week, which led to a lot of impulse purchases. So I tried one simple change. I made a grocery list before leaving home and only bought what was on the list. That single habit reduced my grocery spending by about $60 for the month. Next, I looked at transportation. I was driving short distances that I could have walked, and I was making unnecessary trips during the week. By combining errands into one trip, I spent less on gas and saved around $25. These changes were not dramatic. I didn't stop eating good food, and I didn't sell my car. I simply became more intentional with my spending. And that's an important lesson. The goal of budgeting is not to make your life miserable. The goal is to make sure your money is going where you actually want it to go. After adjusting my needs category, I had a little extra room in the budget. But the real challenge was still ahead. The wants category was where most of my money had been disappearing. And honestly, that's where I made the biggest mistake of the entire month. Part 3, the wants category. Now came the category that worried me the most: wants. I had $900 available for things that were not essential. At first, I thought, that's a lot of money. But after tracking my spending for 1 week, I realized how quickly it disappeared. Here's where my money was going: dining out, $320. Coffee and drinks, $95. Streaming subscriptions, $48. Online shopping, $210. Entertainment and random purchases, $140. Total, $813. I was shocked. I wasn't buying luxury items or taking expensive vacations. Most of the money was going to small purchases that felt harmless in the moment. A delivery order after work. A coffee while running errands. A few items from an online sale. A subscription I barely used. Individually, these expenses didn't seem like a problem. But together, they were costing me hundreds of dollars every month. So I made 3 changes. First, I limited dining out to once per week. Second, I canceled 2 subscriptions that I hadn't used in over a month. Third, I created a 24-hour rule for online shopping. If I wanted to buy something, I had to wait 1 full day before purchasing it. That rule alone stopped several impulse purchases. By the end of the month, my wants spending dropped from $813 to about $560. That meant I had saved roughly $250 without giving up everything I enjoyed. I still went out with friends. I still watched movies. I still bought things I genuinely wanted. The difference was that I chose those purchases intentionally instead of buying whatever caught my attention, and that extra $250 became the key to hitting my savings goal. Part 4, the savings category. Now it was time for the most important part of the challenge, savings. My target was $600. At the beginning of the month, I honestly thought there was no way I could reach that number. But after reducing my grocery spending and cutting back on unnecessary wants, I had already freed up about $335. Here's what I did with the money: emergency fund, $300. Extra payment toward debt, $200. Investment account, $100. Total, $600. For the first time in a long time, I felt like my money had a clear purpose. The emergency fund gave me peace of mind. The extra debt payment meant less interest in the future. And investing even a small amount made me feel like I was building something for the long term. What surprised me most was how different my mindset became. Before this challenge, I used to save whatever money was left over at the end of the month. Usually, that amount was close to zero. With the 50/30/20 rule, I treated savings like a bill that had to be paid first. As soon as I received my paycheck, I moved the savings portion into a separate account. That made it much harder to spend the money accidentally. And here's the result after 30 days, total income, $3,000. Needs, $1,440. Wants, $560. Savings, $600. Money left over, $400. I ended the month with $400 more than I expected. Some of that money came from reduced spending, and some came from simply paying attention to where my money was going. The biggest lesson was not that I became rich in 30 days. The biggest lesson was that I had been losing money through habits I barely noticed. In the final part, I'll tell you whether I would continue using the 50/30/20 rule and who I think this budgeting method is best for. Final part, would I keep using the 50/30/20 rule? So, after 30 days, would I keep using the 50/30/20 budget rule? Yes, absolutely. Not because it made me rich overnight, but because it made my money easier to control. Before this challenge, I never had a clear plan. I would pay my bills, spend money throughout the month, and hope there was something left to save. Most of the time, there wasn't. The 50/30/20 rule changed that by giving every dollar a job. I knew exactly how much I could spend on necessities. I knew how much I could enjoy guilt-free. And I knew that at least 20% of my income was going toward my future. That structure removed a lot of financial stress. Now, I'll be honest. This rule is not perfect for everyone. If you live in a city with very high rent, your needs category might be more than 50%. If you're paying off a large amount of debt, you may want to put more than 20% toward debt payments. The percentages can be adjusted. The important thing is having a simple system that you can actually follow. For beginners, I think this is one of the best budgeting methods because it's easy to remember and doesn't require complicated spreadsheets. And if you're watching this and feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck, here's my advice: start by tracking your spending for just 1 week. Don't judge yourself. Just write down every purchase. You'll probably discover one or two categories where money is disappearing without you realizing it. Fixing those small leaks can make a much bigger difference than trying to cut out everything you enjoy. After 1 month, I saved more money, reduced unnecessary spending, and felt more confident about my finances than I had in years. So, would I recommend the 50/30/20 rule? Yes. If you want a simple, realistic budget that helps you save money without feeling deprived, this is a great place to start. If this video helped you, hit the like button and subscribe for more simple